We all saw the incredible performance that the Boston Celtics put on in the playoffs. Wrong clip. We all saw the incredible performance that the Boston Celtics put on in the playoffs by almost making the NBA Finals with a roster full of mainly young players and without their two best players. And from all this, we can see just how bright of a future there is for all of those young guys and the Boston Celtics. But just because they both have bright futures doesn't mean it's going to be together. Because the Boston Celtics have one huge problem that could either make or break their entire team, and they're going to have to figure it out pretty soon. So we're going to look at the possibilities for the Boston Celtics team this year when healthy, and then look at the big problem ahead of them. So let's look at it from the beginning. We never got to see just how good the Celtics were with Hayward and Kyrie together, but we got to see that when Irving was healthy, the Celtics were the #1 seed in the East for a while there. And nobody expected him to be this good this soon, especially after Kyrie Irving went out with surgery, but they were. They had Al Horford and their solid role players like Marcus Morris and Marcus Smart step up big time, and then Rozier, Tatum, and Brown surprised a lot of people with how good they've been so far. And for that team to not only finish out their season strong, but to have only been one game away from making this year's NBA Finals without their two best players was insane for everyone. In my opinion, I think that there's no doubt that if Kyrie Irving and Gordon Hayward were playing in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Celtics would have definitely beat the Cavs, and it probably wouldn't have even gone to 7 games. I mean, Hayward averaged 21 points, 5 rebounds, and 3 assists last year, and Kyrie Irving's been one of the top 2 point guards in the league for a while now. If you watched that series, all the games they lost, especially in Game 7, they just couldn't find a rhythm, and they had a lot of possessions where they couldn't get any good shots off or really get anything going. I mean, in that Game 7, they only played 7 guys. Tatum and Horford played great, but Rozier had 4 points, went 0 for 10 in threes, Jaylen Brown shot 27%, Marcus Smart went 1 for 10, and Marcus Morris shot 35%. They had a bad night, but this is where the pretty much guaranteed scoring ability of Gordon Hayward and the playmaking and scoring of Kyrie Irving comes in. The way that Irving can drive to the basket and create opportunities for his teammates is what LeBron's missed this season with not having him, and what the Celtics could have used against him. And it's something that will really take them to the next level next year. Sure, the Celtics still weren't able to stop LeBron, but unless he ends up in LA or with some extremely better role players, I really think the Celtics can let him get his and still make it to the finals next season. I mean, to be honest, Kyrie and Hayward getting injured was probably the best thing that could have happened to the Celtics this season, because Tatum probably would have been playing behind Hayward the entire season, and Rozier didn't turn into what he is until after Kyrie got injured. These guys not being there on the court forced this team of Horford and a bunch of young players to figure things out and grow on their own. Not only were they forced to put the pressure of an entire regular season team on their back, but a deep playoff team too, and they excelled at it. So now, just like that, from not playing, Kyrie and Hayward now have a team full of great players with great potential that they probably wouldn't have gotten to see otherwise. So this puts the Celtics in a really interesting spot, because we know that they can win without their highest paid player in Gordon Hayward, and I wouldn't go crazy and start looking for a trade for him right now, but it'd definitely be interesting to see any offers that actually come in for him. They should wait and see how they play with him, but if things don't work out, they definitely have that as a backup plan, and it is something to consider, because now you already know you have a great small forward in Tatum, so one of the two would either have to come off the bench or play power forward, which could be interesting to see how that actually works. And I mean, I wouldn't put any doubt on Brad Stevens to make it work. But let's say things didn't work out with him and he just can't find his spot on the team. Then I think they could easily get a couple of solid players to fill out the rest of the bench, or get a great power forward or center to team up with Horford. And then Marcus Morris would be a great guy to come off the bench. Because you got guys like Marc Gasol, DeAndre Jordan, and Hassan Whiteside who have either been in trade talks or talked about how they've been unhappy with their team, and I can see them easily being great fits for this Boston team. And don't forget, Boston still has 3 future first round picks to work with. So it's safe to say that no matter what happens with the Gordon Hayward situation, Boston's in great hands for next season. And then besides him for next season, my main priority if I was the Boston Celtics would be to keep the rest of the team intact, because each guy on that team this year played their own role and played it great. So part of this would mean they'd have to re-sign the flopper, Marcus Smart, who's a restricted free agent this offseason. He's not a good shooter, but he does everything the team needs that doesn't show up on the stat sheet. But according to him, he says he's worth more than $12 to $14 million a year. I mean, we're not going to know until a team actually gives him an offer or they don't, but if someone offers them more than $14 million a year, I don't see Boston having the money to match a deal like that to keep him. So there's a chance that they might have to let him walk. But if he gets no deal, then he'll stay a Celtic. Besides that though, everyone's locked in for next season. And I really think they have a great chance to make it to the NBA Finals and maybe even win the NBA championship. But with all that being said, Boston has a bright future for next season, and you might think that they have one of the brightest futures to be one of the best things for many years to come. But that's not exactly the case, because this is where their big problem comes in. Because these young guys have played so great recently and look like they all have such bright futures that if they keep it up, then there's no doubt that they're going to be offered huge contracts that Boston isn't going to be able to afford, because they're already pretty close to their team's salary cap. For now, they got Jason Tatum for the next 3 seasons, but like I said, Marcus Smart can potentially leave this offseason, Terry Rozier and Marcus Morris can leave after next season, and Jaylen Brown can leave in 2 seasons. The Boston Celtics have done a great job with how they've paid their players recently, but that's actually going to be the problem coming up soon. It's crazy to think that such a great team is probably going to have to break up so soon already, but it's not even like the Celtics can really trade any of these young guys away before their deals are up, because these guys are making such little money on their rookie contracts for how good they are. And Boston also doesn't have any bad contracts on their roster. So what this means is, let's say for instance, Terry Rozier plays as good as he did in the playoffs as a backup for Kyrie Irving this season. He's only 24, and the Celtics aren't going to want to get nothing for him when he leaves in free agency for a big contract. So usually they'd make a trade to try and get something in return. But since he's only making $2 million a year, and they have no other bad contracts to pair up with him in a trade, what quality player are they going to get in return that has a contract that small? So what I can realistically see happening here is they're probably going to lose out on Marcus Morris and Terry Rozier after this season, and then in 2 years, Al Horford's $30 million a year contract will be up. So I would think they'd let him walk and try to re-sign Jaylen Brown to a deal and leave money left over to sign Jason Tatum when his contract expires the next season. But just like that, 3 years from now, we're talking that the Boston Celtics can be spending the same amount of money but losing out on Al Horford, Terry Rozier, and Marcus Morris. So it's safe to say that this is probably one of the best teams that Boston's going to be able to put together for quite some time. And that's why I really feel that the 2018 and 19 season is a must-win year for the Boston Celtics. Now another option is maybe this season they could trade Gordon Hayward away for a solid player with a much smaller contract to be able to offer Morris and Rozier deals this summer. But I mean, I don't know, we'll have to wait and see. As you can see, there's a lot going on here for the Celtics, and there's a lot of ways things could go right, but there's also a lot of ways that things could go really wrong for them, and that they could lose out on pretty much everything. If I was a Celtics fan or Danny Ainge, this is something that you can't put off and that you have to start thinking about over the next couple of seasons. I mean, the man's gotten him to this point, so I would think that he knows what he's doing and he's going to make the right choices to give them the best team possible, but you never know. Either way, there's definitely no denying the fact that soon this team isn't going to be the same and they're going to lose at least a couple players. So like I said, this season is a must-win for them. But again, if LeBron stays in Cleveland, unless the Cavs or another team makes a major game-changing move this offseason, I definitely think the Celtics can and will make the finals. But Boston's got the talent, they got the new best coach in the league, and they got Kyrie Irving, who spent a lot of time up close with LeBron James, seeing how he plays and how he thinks. Now, I'm not a Celtics fan, and it wouldn't hurt me if they lost all of their best players, but I am tired of seeing LeBron in the finals and this Warriors-Cavs NBA Finals. It's time for something new, and it's time for some fresh new players to step up into the spotlight. If anyone's going to stop LeBron James in the Eastern Conference, I'm putting my money on the Boston Celtics. In the past couple of years, before the start of any NBA season, anyone that predicted anything except the Warriors or whatever team LeBron was on making it to the finals a year in advance didn't really have a case for the argument. But now there's definitely a case for it. So then, from there in the finals, there's nothing really to base it off of except opinions, whether they face the Golden State Warriors, the Houston Rockets, or someone else. You can't really say who would win, so that's what we'll just have to wait and see. So I'm pulling for the Celtics, or really anyone else, to be the 2019 NBA champions. And I want to know what you guys think too. So definitely comment your thoughts on where you think this team's at, and what you think of their future. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you next video.